Mock exam question number 1. The red spruce forests along the east coast of the United States have historically been damaged by acid deposition. Scientists are interested in how the severity of acid deposition affects the soil of the red spruce forests. They designed a laboratory experiment in which rainwater of different pH values is used to water soil samples taken from the red spruce forests. The soil samples are the same size and contain the same ratios of sand, silt, and clay. The same amount of water is sprayed over the soil samples every day for a week. A. Describe one effect that acid deposition has on trees in a forest ecosystem. Some of the solutions would be leaves and needles turn brown or yellow. Leaves and needles fall off the tree. Tree growth is slowed, and seed production and the reproductive rate of trees may decrease. So the one that we're going to concentrate on would be the third point, that tree growth is slowed. Let's take a look at our students' response. One effect that acid deposition has on trees in a forest ecosystem is releasing aluminum into the soil. This aluminum can affect tree growth by inhibiting root growth and damaging root cells, preventing trees from growing and developing. Perfect answer. Example number 2. One effect that acid deposition has on trees in a forest ecosystem is that it strips the soil from its nutrients, which makes plant life harder to grow and soak up water. So this was a common correct answer that I've seen. It has enough details, but again, this answer, y'all, was copied word for word and posted in several FRQ submissions. And this is word for word from an internet search or from a person. So if you guys do this on exam day, it will be flagged as plagiarism or collaborating with others, and severe consequences will be handed out. I went over those severe consequences on the AP tip of the week number 5, and that's this week's. So if you guys haven't seen that video yet, be sure to watch it and pay attention. So I know that some of y'all think sharing answers is a good way to help your friends out, but on this exam, y'all, it will be detrimental to you and your friend's exam score. If this is just y'all not trying on these practices, then okay, fine, I accept that. Can't force y'all to take things seriously over this distance learning. You guys are in charge of your own learning, and you'll see the benefit if you guys are trying and the effects of you not trying. So again, if you guys did not try on these practice, I would take the block practices this week seriously. Only thing tested on this year's AP exam is your skill in answering what they are asking for. The content can be found on the internet, but the skills must be developed through practice. Remember, collaboration is not allowed for any AP exams. Okay, to understand the severity of the consequences, let's go over them. Score cancellation. So this happens with students whose responses mirror online content or other students' submissions will have their scores canceled. So that's a no-brainer. You'll be banned from future College Board exams. So this includes future AP exams as well as SAT and SAT subject tests. High school will be notified, so administration will take appropriate actions there. College admissions will also be notified, and this is a very big one, y'all. So College Board will provide information about the incident to colleges or other organizations to which the student has already sent any College Board scores to, or to which the student would send scores in the future. So this affects your future, y'all, in higher education, so college or grad school or medical school or whatever you guys want to do in the future. So again, any incident of breaking the exam integrity will be reported to college admissions, and that follows you around, and it will either take you trying to get that removed with a lot of money or a lot of time and headache and I'm just trying to save y'all from all of that. So just don't do anything that is listed under as violating exam integrity. And last but not least, law enforcement under circumstance. College Board may inform law enforcement of any incident to determine if prosecution of the test taker or anyone assisting the test taker in misconduct is warranted. Let's go back to the problem. B. Throughout the experiment, the scientists measured the concentration of toxic forms of aluminum in the soil samples. 1. Identify the likely scientific question being investigated in the experiment. 2. Identify a dependent variable for the experiment. 3. Explain how the results of the experiment would change if the soil sample used contained higher concentrations of limestone. Let's take a look at the solution for number 1. The response identifies the likely scientific question being investigated in the experiment as: does the pH level of rainwater affect the concentration of toxic forms of aluminum in the soil samples? So let's take a look at a student's response. The student responded with: the likely scientific question is whether or not the pH level of rain affects the amount of toxic aluminum in soil. So only one student got this one right, and so that's what I'm showing y'all here. The majority of y'all chose this. The severity of acid deposition affects the soil of the red spruce forest, which is good, but a scientific question is answered by having a hypothesis and having a laboratory experiment done. And so this laboratory experiment is key to your question. So rainwater of different pH values, our independent variable, is used to measure, which is our dependent variable, the concentration of toxic forms of aluminum in soil. So again, the correct answer was sewn into the paragraph, and you have to look for laboratory experiment in order to derive your question. And it must be a question. Let's take a look at number 2. So this is the solution. Again, the dependent variable is the concentration of toxic forms of aluminum in the soil. It is what is being measured. Again, only a few students got this right. Specifically, again, dependent variable is what is being measured, and this was in our prompt. What is being measured is the concentration of toxic forms of aluminum in soil, and this is a perfect answer. Number 3's solution. So again, soils with higher concentrations of limestone will buffer acid deposition more than soils with lower concentrations. So answers like that it will neutralize or buffer. So first example, this is a perfect answer, y'all. The results of the experiment would change if the soil sample used contained higher concentrations of limestone, as the limestone would neutralize the acidity in the rain water. Because calcium is a base, it reacts with excess acid that may be deposited in the soil. This allows the soil to maintain a constant pH and withstand the effects of acid deposition. Example number 2. The results of the experiment would change if they used soil with higher concentrations of limestone by focusing on different factors that affect tree growth. So the student had a good answer, but it didn't answer the prompt. So be sure to answer what the prompt is telling you to do. In 2018, researchers found that many of the red spruce forests had started to recover from the damage caused by acid deposition. Based on this research, a group of scientists hypothesized that coal-fired power plants were a likely source of pollutants that lead to acid deposition in the red spruce forests. C. To test their hypothesis, they researched the consumption of coal by electric utility companies in the United States and the pH of rainwater from a red spruce forest in Vermont between 2001 and 2018. 1. Based on the data in the graph, describe the trend in pH of water from 2001 to 2018. 2. Based on the data in the graph, identify the year with the highest coal consumption. 3. Describe how a pollutant that is released from the combustion of coal contributes to the formation of acid deposition. 4. One way that acid deposition can be reduced is by using scrubbers at coal-fired power plants to remove the pollutants that lead to its formation. Describe how a scrubber removes the pollutants that lead to the formation of acid deposition at coal-fired power plants. 5. Explain how the data in the graph support the hypothesis that the combustion of coal in coal-fired power plants could be correlated to the damage in the red spruce forests. Number 1. So a good answer is that the pH increased during this time period. A student's example. Based on the graph, the trend of pH in rainwater from 2001 to 2018 has been an increase in the pH of rainwater. Very good. So the answer to number 2, we took a look at the coal consumption and we want the highest. So the highest for coal consumption, which is the white dot, is the year 2001. Let's take a look at the perfect answer. Based on the graph, the year with the highest coal consumption was 2001. So the answer to number 3 should include that nitrogen oxides or sulfur dioxide reacts with water in the atmosphere to form their respective acid. So we're going to concentrate on the sulfur dioxide. A good answer. The combustion of coal contributes to the formation of acid deposition as it releases sulfur into the atmosphere. This sulfur dioxide reacts with oxygen, water, and other chemicals in the atmosphere to form sulfuric acid, which creates acid rain. Number 4. The smoke is sprayed with or passed through wet or dry chemicals that neutralize and remove sulfur compounds. So we're going to concentrate on that response. Perfect answer here. Scrubbers use liquid to get rid of particulate matter or hazardous gas from power plants. This flow of liquid washes out the pollutant gas in the gas flow and limits the emission of sulfur oxides. Number 5. So the answer should include, y'all, that the coal use has been decreasing since 2001 and decreasing emissions that contributes to acid deposition. With less sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxide emissions, less acid deposition is produced, leading to the red spruce forest to recover. A good answer that demonstrates that. The combustion of coal in the coal-fired power plant could be correlated to the damage in the red spruce forest because as coal consumption decreases, the acidity of the rainwater also decreases. pH goes up. If the pH of the rainwater goes up, the amount of toxic aluminum in the soil that is produced goes down, which explains the tree's recovery from the damage caused by acid deposition. D. Other than the combustion of coal and power plants, identify another source of the gases that can cause the acid deposition affecting the forests. So some of the answers: combustion of fossil fuels from motor vehicles, combustion of fossil fuels for manufacturing and industry, burning of biomass, volcanic eruption. So this is a good answer. The combustion of gas in automobiles can cause acid deposition affecting forests. Well, this is all of question number 1. I'm going to move on to question number 2 in the next video. Have a good one.